from companies within this area of operation, and donations, funds, and equipment, services, and time from area residents who volunteer their time to get involved.
It's as if it's my next-door neighbor talking to me, only he's on the radio instead of next door to me.
Real people just like you.
I like them. They tell it like it is.
Local focus, local news, local music, of the local people, and by the local people.
It's different than the rest of the stuff I hear.
I love the show. I listen every day.
WRLR.
Hey everyone, it's Norm. And every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office or take the drive home. Stream the net, WRLR.FM. 98.3 FM is the voice of Lake County on the radio dial. Join Norm Tuesdays, 3 to 5, right here on WRLR.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Where it began, I can't begin to knowing, but then I know it's growing strong. Wasn't the spring.
Good evening. Welcome into Lake County Sports Scoop for a Monday. Carson Beck, Rob Cartwright, our intern, Rusty Silber here with you. We're just kind of grooving along here on a Monday in the middle of January. Just getting ready for a lot of things in high school sports, believe it or not, because there are, oh my goodness, the end of the season coming up already in boys bowling. Later on this hour, we'll talk more about that. Conference meets coming up on the girls' side. Gymnastics having their conference meet this week. And, of course, basketball seeding meetings are coming up in the next couple weeks for the girls and the boys. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of winter sports coming to a close here in the next month, believe it or not, a month or so when you think about it. You know, get into January, into February, and then basketball concludes it into early March. So we're going to have a busy time, guys, in the next month, believe it or not. And, of course, winter really hasn't even started yet. If you think about it, seeing snow and cold. We saw, a little bit of cold back a month ago and had a little bit of snow over the weekend, but we'll take it because spring sports will be around the corner. And I'll throw this out to you guys right away. Spring sports begin their practice season at the end of February and early March. It comes up that quickly. Now the question is if we can get spring-like weather around here before May. That's the big question. You can laugh on that because that's typical every year. So, but hey, how you guys doing today? Rob, you doing well?
I'm doing good.
Doing good, yeah. Mm-hmm. I know football was good over the weekend to watch, as usual in the NFL. How about you, Carson?
Doing good, Rusty. We're in for a treat on Friday night watching Warren at Libertyville.
Oh, you're talking about this past Friday night?
Yes.
I heard it was a great game, but then again, you and I were out there, too.
Oh, yeah, and raucous crowd. Both sides had pretty good fans.
Well, I'll say this. If that game didn't have the feeling of playoff atmosphere, then you and me didn't know what was going on because it was unbelievable with the amount of fans that were there, the student sections that were in attendance on Warren's side and Libertyville's side, and you just had this feeling like you knew this was a big game at this time of year.
In all honesty, I think this win could be maybe the turning point or signature win for Coach Ryan at Warren. I was talking to him and Fidel after the game. I was like, I'm surprised surprised the fans didn't storm the court on after the win, and they told me this is the expectation at Warren. We don't do that. I was like, yeah, that's true. Warren does have a rich history. I guess I get where you're coming from. You don't want to over-exaggerate that win too much, but yeah, I think that given the points of the season where they've lost leads, they've been close, I think for them to finally say, hey, we ended Libertyville's 13-game winning streak, handed their first loss of the calendar 2023, maybe boost a spark in the Blue Devil season to say, hey, you can finish these games.
Well, one thing, there's two ways to look at this whole picture here. Because looking at this game from Friday night, Libertyville was missing their point guard, Will Burkert. He had himself, unfortunately, a sprained ankle that he got previously, missed the Mundelein game. He did warm up in the game, but that's when we found out when we got in the gym. I was told by Coach Brian Zerkowski that he was not going to play. And right away I'm thinking, wow, that's going to change everything here with the chemistry of the team. I mean, you lose either best player or one of your best players that's been dominating for the last couple of months during this winning streak, take them off the court, your chemistry changes. You're not going to have the same feeling like you would before. And we talked about that at the start of the game. But this game itself was taken in light to be probably the best 32-minute game for the Warren Blue Devils. Because they came out, they played basketball like it was a playoff atmosphere. Yes, you mentioned how big this game was. To me, this was their biggest game of the year because they finished the game completely for that full 32 minutes.
And Rusty, there's a few things. One, you mentioned Booker being out. I thought La Vista for Libertyville filled his shoes well, hitting 4 threes on the night. He was probably what kept kind of Libertyville game. And also, I remember talking to the coaches for Warren. Their main focus point, especially these last couple games, was turnovers, both their own and forcing. And they in the first half, they had only turned the ball over 4 times, causing Libertyville to turn it over 9 times. Then they got a few more in the second half. So extra possessions, valuing the ball, kind of seemed like the point of emphasis. And we saw, especially when they did that full court and half court trap, that it made Libertyville uncomfortable. So I think they kind of hit their focuses. And I also saw some players that stepped up that I maybe wouldn't have expected, aside from Alex Daniels, who was our player of the game. I thought Warren likes to go deep in their bench, and I saw Panic play on Wednesday night when they beat Zion, and he didn't score much. He only had a few buckets, I believe 4 points. No, 2, actually. And they found different ways to score. And also, it also shows, given that how they won, only putting up 50 points compared to 78 points on Wednesday, it kind of shows that Warren could win, whether it's slowing it down a little bit and controlling the tempo like Friday, or run and gun kind of like they did Wednesday against Zion. So I really think the Blue Devils definitely learned a lot of new stuff about themselves in that victory against Libertyville.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about how big this game is for Warren. I mean, this, to me, like I said, is the biggest game for them this year that they were able to complete. But let's hear from the coach, because Zach Ryan, was he excited after a game like this? Well, Brian, I know losses are tough, and it's been a while. The battle continues. Coach, I got to hand it to you. This is probably one of the best wins this year. How do you feel about it?
Really good. And, I'm just really proud of our guys and how hard they battled. And we've talked all year about us needing a win against like a signature really good team. We've had some wins against decent teams, but no one really to the caliber of like a Libertyville. So, and tonight we did it, and, it wasn't always pretty there at the end, but we got some tough guys and some guys that battle, and they got some tough guys and some guys that battle. So it was a battle out there. It was like a football game.
It was a frantic pace.
Yeah.
Not used to seeing this for Warren standards, but you're coming from Carmel. You're the new coach here. And you took the frantic pace to build a lead, which you got it up to as much as 14 points. And we've seen in the past, I remember doing a Warren and Stevenson game where you had a lead, and then you gave up that lead.
And then we did
how
it against
much,
them too.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much did this team grow tonight to keep building the lead and maintaining that lead?
Well, that was the thing. Like, we've been really close all year. And like you said, in the Stevenson game, the first time we played Libertyville, we've put together some really good first halves. And tonight we just came in and we kind of said, enough is enough. Like, we got to put together 4 quarters. And tonight we finally did that. We knew it wasn't going to be easy because they're a really good team and we're going to have to battle for it. But we've been talking about that for weeks now, about putting together 4 quarters, an entire game. And when we do that, we'll beat a good team, and we'll see why.
And Libertyville tried to take over the lead. You got it down to 1, but you didn't let them do it. What was really key to keep that lead?
I just think our guys stuck together. I think they stuck together, and they're huddling up and they're communicating, and this is a great environment. And I think finally, like, it takes time to learn how to win, and these guys have been close and getting closer and closer and closer, and now we finally did it. And now I think a win like this can really show these guys how good we can be.
Mm-hmm. What have you learned from the younger players like Daniels, the lead the way? Because I looked on your score sheet, it seems like everybody scored here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at our roster, really the only guy that played last year was Adam Panic. So we got a lot of new guys to varsity basketball. And I've explained to him that in our league, in our schedule, it's tough. And to make a transition from the lower levels, or an 8th grader for some of our guys, it's a big switch against a team like that's experienced, big and strong, and has been through battles and has had success over the past couple years. It takes time. And once you do it, I think then they can kind of see that the pattern for how to do that. And, so it's great for these guys. They've worked hard, and we've asked a lot of them, and I think they'll say that this is working.
What does this win mean when you look forward?
It's a great win for us. And like we said Monday, after we left Warrenville, we said we're in need of that win. We just haven't had that win yet. And this is one that, at this point, in almost late January now, could kind of springboard us into the second half of our conference season and, into regionals. So really happy, really proud of these guys.
All right, great win.
Thanks, Russ.
All right, there you go. You can tell I'm very happy. Coach there, Carson. I think it's a signature win. You mentioned earlier it could change the season. It could. They've got some, tough opponents coming up. Like, everybody's going to be playing each other. And, the key thing is, as I mentioned to them, you're playing everybody the second time around. And we've talked with a few coaches about this. What do we have? Sean Conner on Saturday from Antioch. And you get to that second time around the conference. Everyone's got tape on everybody. Everyone knows all the other teams now. And that second time around you play a team, it's not as easy as it was the first time. Libertyville might have gotten Warren the first time. Warren now got Libertyville the second time. But you've heard that old phrase, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. It's hard to beat a team 2 times in a season when it comes to North Suburban Conference.
Right, and I'm interested to see when Warren plays Stevenson again, for example, because they had the lead in that game. And yeah, I think Libertyville might have the upper hand the second time around. Who knows? And I also find it impactful and interesting that I was talking to the Warren coaches after the game. They said Stevenson better be calling us up and thanking us, because now with that loss to Libertyville, that puts Stevenson also in the driver's seat for a tie for first in North Suburban. So I guess if you're a Patriots fan, you are thanking the Blue Devils for pulling off that win.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the game there, give credit, because Alex Daniels stepped up, hit 4 important free throws.
Oh, yes.
At the end of the game, because Libertyville cut that score to 46-45. They had chances to win that game, couldn't convert the shots, didn't execute like they were supposed to, and then Daniels came up and hit the 4 free throws at the end that just sealed the victory.
And remember, notice how I mentioned that Warren was not committing many turnovers in or forcing it. On the flip side, when I was watching it, I feel like the turning point that kind of kept Libertyville alive is they forced those 2 backcourt violations. But what shot Libertyville in the foot is when they got to the free throw line, they really struggled. Even when they missed that 3-pointer and they got 3 attempts, they only made 2. I always say you got to score when the clock isn't running. Those are called free throws for a reason. So I felt like that was one that you need to convert those late. So,
all right, Alex Daniels was our MVP. You caught up with him after the game, and he seemed pretty happy, I would say, for the victory. But let's hear from him.
Leading scorer for Warren tonight. What was the preparation like going into this game? You had 13 points against Zion. You had 14 tonight. What was the message going to tonight's game?
Really just keeping up the intensity and matching Libertyville's physicality. Coach really just helped us prepare. He watched film. We talked about it, scouted out like every little play, and our coaches just really helped us prepare for it.
What do you think was the biggest challenge Libertyville presented, and how did you and the team prepare for what they were throwing at you?
Libertyville is really real big. They box out well, we box out well, but our coach just really emphasized that we have to box out even better. Just box out, keep the intensity up.
What was Coach Ryan's message to you guys down the stretch when it was starting to get into within single digits and Libertyville was trying to claw back with their own pressure?
He just told us to really just keep the intensity up. This has happened before. We know how it feels, and we just wanted to really just step on their throat and finish the game, which we did.
What can you say about your teammates, especially down the stretch, like hitting those like free throws like Daniels and Stewart and all those guys coming up in the clutch? I know sometimes closing out has been a difficulty. You guys got it done tonight. What can you say about your teammates?
Yeah, for sure. We practice free throws a lot. I just always like to walk up to them, just tell them you're good, knock this down, and we trusted our teammates, and they executed.
What can you say about the team defense tonight? I know you guys showed a lot of full court and half court pressure early on, forced turnovers, and also your team didn't commit as many turnovers as the last couple games. What can you say about that?
Yeah, that was also a big emphasis, turnovers, just keeping the pressure up. And, we have a lot of depth on this team, so we just have to use it and use our length, and we did.
What was the celebration and message like in the locker room after giving Libertyville their first conference loss?
It just feels great. I don't even know. It just feels great. That's all I can say.
What did Zach Ryan say? What did he say after the game?
He just walked in. We started yelling. Just feels great. I don't know what to tell you. It just feels great.
All right. Thanks for the interview, and good luck in your next game.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Alex Daniels giving some good information, excitement, and he should be excited at the end of that game. Why not? I mean, that's a great win that Warren put out there.
I agree, Rusty, and I think he's got a great size. I think he can play kind of inside and outside, and certainly great talent. And like I mentioned, he was big in the Zion win on Wednesday, and then he also obviously stepped up well Friday, so kind of seems like his go-to scorer for the most part for Warren, but like the Warren coach has said, he still even has more room to grow, so he hasn't hit his ceiling yet, and I think the nice thing about Warren playing a deep bench is that they get a lot of experience. I know like one of their guards is a freshman too, so team is slightly on the younger side, and they still have a lot of room to grow and improve.
All right. Let's hear from Libertyville coach Brian Zerkowski. We know that Will Burkert was out in this game, and their win streak was snapped. They haven't lost in 2 months. First time they take a defeat here in 2023.
First conference loss, too.
Yeah, obviously, first conference loss, another tie with Stevenson. But this game, sometimes you think, taking a loss after a big winning streak is going to hurt the team. But maybe it's better to have this now than later. Have it a loss when it comes up before the regionals or before, the chance the end of the season comes along. So, I kind of like the way Brian Zerkowski kind of answered the questions because it kind of tells me something. This is more of a good loss than a bad loss at the time being. So let's hear from Coach Brian Zerkowski. The battle continues. Are tough, and it's been a while since you've lost a game. Yeah. How do you look at a game like this?
You got to look to grow. These types of games, I thought Warren did a nice job tonight, played extremely hard, and, defended their home court. I thought our guys fought hard tonight. I think when you miss a couple things go bad, all you can ask for is you guys fight to the end. And I thought the guys did that tonight, and playing shorthanded and guys playing a lot of minutes and playing at the tempo that we played at to get back in that game. and having chances. I commend our guys, but don't take anything away from Warren. They did a nice job tonight.
You led only one time in this game at 2-0.
Yeah.
They built a 14-point lead on you. You kept chipping away. You finally got it down to 1. You had chances to take the lead. What didn't work to take the lead?
Just basketball. This game is it comes down to possessions, and you miss free throws, you miss layups. The other team making their free throws, and that's what it comes down to. It's all about a game of possessions. And every time that we chip back, I thought they did a nice job settling down, but our guys fought to the end, and again, playing short-handed and going after it. Our guys couldn't ask for anything more. Mm-hmm. And what's next is, you just got to play the next game. In life, if you're worried about the past, you're never going to make it to the future. And I thought our guys, like the message in the locker room is, we got to move forward. And and tonight, you can learn from these games, but you also have to move forward. And you have to look to the next thing and respond, because that's the only way you're going to get through adversity. And I thought our guys did a good job in the locker room. Our guys did a good job tonight in the game. And but again, I thought Warren played well tonight, and they controlled the glass. That was one of their biggest strengths, and their finishing inside was really key, and hitting some big threes.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times when you get on a winning streak, and you had a long winning streak, it's been since last year you actually won a game.
Yeah.
Or actually lost the game. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
But, is this a good time to take a loss, you think?
The big cliche is it's sometimes a loss is good, right? And I think you can't. I don't look at it as a loss. I look at it as an opportunity to grow. And I think our guys handle that very well in terms of, hey, what's going to be next? Is we got to be ready to go the next day. And this is a growing moment, and we've got some great fighters in there, and I'm ready to go battle with them the next game.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach.
Good seeing you.
All right, there you go, Brian Zerkowski. And I like the way he put that, about the loss, what it means for the team. And I think we all realize that, these are high school kids. They got to learn by certain things. And taking a loss, even though you want to keep winning, game after game, when you take a loss like that and how you lose, you learn by that and you get better.
Yeah, you can't dwell on it. You have to just get back up. You can't think too hard, because if you think too hard, that's how you pile up more losses. You just got to learn from it and then start piling up more wins.
Going back to that Will Booker thing, the fact that he was out with the ankle injury, and we mentioned this at the start of the broadcast. I know Carson got caught like, I didn't know he was out. I didn't know either until Brian Zerkowski told me before the game. I just walked, hey, Brian, how you doing? He says, by the way, just to let you know, Will Booker's not playing tonight. I said, really? And I go, how's that going to work out? And he's kind of telling me that we're going to work around it. He may warm up, but he's not going to play tonight. So I'm thinking in my mind as I went back and started getting ready for the pregame show with Carson, this is going to change the whole game. Mm-hmm. It's going to make it different because he's had the same starting lineup for weeks, all these games that they've won. So now you got a different lineup. You got LaVista starting with Sorensen and the rest of the team that normally starts. It changes what they're used to starting with. Yep. The chemistry changes.
Yeah, remember, LaVista played a fair amount already in the regular season, so he wasn't really a stranger to playing time, and he stepped up hitting those 4 threes,
but
too.
It's a difference from coming off the bench to say, I'm starting now. Here's a freshman. Okay, he's getting the opportunity to start. Might have been his first start all season.
I believe so.
Okay,
probably.
His adrenaline, his excitement level has gone up now. He's not used to being a starter. He had to fill a role because you didn't have Burkert in there. So, here's a high school freshman getting the opportunity. Yeah, that's great, but he's not the same person coming off the bench as he would be. Mm-hmm. So you're going to change things up. And we saw the tenseness. We saw the tightness of what was going on with some of the players, missed shots. Now, I will throw in, Warren's gym is not an easy gym to shoot. We've heard this over the years. The lighting's different. It's not the same gym as Libertyville, much bigger, big seating. The nets are off the walls. And I hear a lot of times over the years that, a lot of teams come in there, they have a tough time making baskets because it's a different perception.
And it was a raucous crowd, too. The cheerleaders, band.
The sound's different in there, too. It's a big gym. Libertyville is not that big of a gym. It's that cozy home atmosphere that you're going to have in there. So
kind of like Lake Zurich's gym.
Yeah, well, Lake Zurich is pretty big, too.
Yeah, right.
So let's run through the games that were this past week. I want to mention a few games that kind of caught my eye throughout the week, especially on Friday night in the North Suburban. Lake Forest beat Waukegan.
And remember, the first time they played, Waukegan took them to overtime.
Yeah, and this time around, Lake Forest did win. They're at full strength now, and Asa Thomas playing good ball. And the key thing is being at full strength. They're going to be a tough team over the next couple of weeks here. It's going to be really tough. But they won this game 66-58. Stevenson got by Lake Zurich 50-42, and Mundelein easily got by Zion 59-46. NLCC just one game, and this was an upset too. We talk about what happened at Warren. Well, Wakanda, same situation, I believe. Tough gym to play in. It's different from Grace Lake Central. And Wakanda did get the, should we say, the ball over Grace Lake Central in this one, 47-42. Braden Carlson with an 18-point game. He's been having a great season with the Bulldogs.
And remember, that would make the first conference loss for Grace Lake Central, even though they remain first in standings. We'll run through the standings soon.
All right, on Saturday, some interesting games here because the rest of the NLCC played on Saturday. Lakes beat Grant 57-52. Grace Lake North over North Chicago 73-48. And Antioch easily got by Round Lake 57-24. We had Sean Connor on Saturday. That team continues to play better. In fact, they've moved up to the upper half of the NLCC. And keep an eye on this team. I said this when we talked to Sean Connor. This is a team to watch. They're starting to play better, even though they're missing Marshall Gerke, who's a pretty good player. He ended up hurting his wrist, and he's out for, it looks like, the remainder of the season. He had surgery on that.
That'd be interesting if they maybe caused a bump in the road in the 3A playoffs. I could see it.
Never know in that situation. Long way away to look at that. Non-conference games on Saturday. Palatine beat Mundelein 62-33. And Prospect, the winner over Stevenson, 41-40 on the road. Is Prospect going to be a thorn in the side here as we get to the playoffs? I don't know, but Stevenson took a loss on that game, which kind of surprised me. I just was not sure if that was going to happen. Top five, here's what I got. Okay, I'm going to throw this out there for the boys. Got Libertyville at 1 and Stevenson at 1. They both have the same records right now. They both took upsets over the weekend. So I got them right now, 1-1. Lake Forest has moved up to 3 now, believe it or not. Record not intimidating, but their wins lately are catching my eye.
Grace Lake Central.
Yes, they beat Grace Lake Central back Martin Luther King weekend by a big margin. I think it was by 21 points. Then you got Grace Lake Central at 4 and Deerfield at 5 right now. So that's what we're looking at the top 5. You got records? Go ahead and go through that.
All right, Rusty, for the North Suburban boys, still in first place, we have Libertyville on top, but then like we mentioned, Stevenson right behind them at second tied. Both have 4 losses overall. Lake Forest right there, 5-2, 13-8. Warren 4-3, 12-10. Lake Zurich 3-4 in conference, 11-8. Waukegan slightly below 500 at 10-11, 2-5. They're tied with Mundelein, who's 2-5, 9-12, and Zion's still looking for that first win overall. And then over in the Northern Lake County, like we mentioned, Wakanda gave Grace Lake Central their first loss, but Grace Lake Central is now tied with the Lakes for first. Grace Lake Central 19-3, Antioch, Lakes 14-6. Then Antioch is 500 at 10-10 and 4-3. They're tied with Grace Lake North, who's 9-12 overall. And then also Wakanda and Grant are tied for fifth as Wakanda 3-3, 10-8. Grant 6-12, 3-3. North Chicago 3-17, 1-6. And Round Lake only has 1 win overall, but not a win yet in conference play. Over in Central Suburban, Niles North has a game ahead lead over Deerfield. They've yet to lose a game in conference. They're 18-4. Deerfield 15-5, 5-1. Vernon Hills right there at 3-3, 10-12. Then Highland Park is in last place at 4-18, 1-5. And then over to the East Suburban Catholic, you have Carmel at 8-17, 0-10 overall. But they did take Bennett, who's in first place in the conference, to a pretty good battle over the weekend. So they definitely remain competitive in that game. So don't let the record fool you.
All right. Want to go over the girls this past week because there were some close games during the week. There weren't any games on Tuesday. They finished the Martin Luther King back on Monday. which we went through some of the scores last week. But some of these games on Wednesday, Stevenson edged Lake Forest 48-46.
And Grays Lake North handed Grays Lake Central their first conference loss on the year.
I'm glad you put that on there. All right.
46-40, so.
But I want to mention further on that list is that Carmel had a close one with Bennett at home, but they could not stop Bennett at all. They lost 49-40. Deerfield defeated Barrington 67-58. Then you got some other games. Grant beat North Chicago. You mentioned the Grays Lake North game. Libertyville down Mundelein very easily, and Round Lake over Wakanda. Thursday, Libertyville beat Warren 57-38. Friday games, these were interesting. Lake Forest beat Waukegan. That was pretty simple, 64-29. But Stevenson handed Lake Zurich a loss, their first loss in conference, 46-35. Vernon Hills over Maine West, 49-40. And Mundelein beat Zion Benton, 54-41. On Saturday, Antioch beat North Chicago. That's pretty simple. Carmel down Marion Catholic. Not by much here. It was 34-24. Carmel likes to win those low-scoring defensive battles. They're doing a good job on defense. Grays Lake North over Wakanda. Lake Zurich defeated Cary Grove in a non-conference game. Round Lake got by Lakes 49-42, and Waukegan over Highland Park by a score of 46-39. Now, the top five, this is tough. This is really tough right now because everybody's beating everybody in the top of the NLCC. And I had a hard time trying to put 1, 2, and 3, but this is what I still have, believe it or not, because there were some upsets over the Martin Luther King on Monday. They kind of changed this around. So really, you could almost put Lake Zurich, Libertyville, and Stevenson all at number 1, tied with each other. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to hold back on that. Well, maybe next week I'll do it. I've got Lake Zurich 1, Libertyville 2, Stevenson 3.
Wait, but that just means that the Stevenson win over Lake Zurich means nothing. That's not right, Rusty. It should be.
Yeah, I know.
It should be the standings.
But here's
Libertyville.
hold on. Stop a sec. Here's the reasoning behind it. Okay,
you got to play the games for a reason,
no,
Rusty.
Lake Zurich has only lost 3 or 4 games. Stevenson has lost 6 games or so by close margins.
But let me ask Rob this: why do you play the games, Rob? Why do you play the games?
I understand what both of you guys are saying.
To determine who is the better team.
You also got to look at like the record and everything
beat them
like that.
The other time that they played. They beat them one time
Right,
already.
but I feel like you're more evident of a more recent game than going back in the calendar.
But they also have beaten them, and they've got a better schedule than Stevenson does, too. That's another thing, too, you got to look at. There's a lot of factors that go into this. Number 4, we've got Deerfield, and number 5, we got Carmel. And Lake Forest is really close.
I would flip Carmel over Deerfield.
Yeah, Deerfield's got a better record and a better schedule right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tough thing. I mean, all these teams, I'll be honest, all 6 that I mentioned are really good teams in Lake County.
Personally, I would say Libertyville 1, Lake Zurich 2, because Libertyville, as we saw, has a deeper team. The Rule Sisters, Fisher, even Swanson, the freshman guard, I think they're deeper bench, which makes them dangerous.
Yeah, but they took a tough loss on Monday to Kenwood, and that makes the difference. Losing that game is a big difference here right now. So you got to take consideration. Do you have records quickly to go through?
So the standings, Rusty, say that Libertyville's first place, 19-4, 9-1. Lake Zurich right behind them after suffering that first conference loss to Stevenson. They're still 18-5, 8-1. Stevenson 7-3 in conference, 17-8 overall. Lake Forest, don't forget about them. 17-7, 6-3. Warren 10-11, 4-6. Mundelein 9-14, 3-6. Waukegan 9-14, 1-8. And Zion remains winless in conference play, only has 1 win on the year. Grays Lake Central still in first place, but right behind them, Grays Lake North. Grays Lake Central only has that first conference loss. North has the 2 losses, and that helps Grays Lake North beating the Rams on Wednesday. And then Antioch, 13-8 overall, 6-3. Grant, 10-13, 5-4. Round Lake, 15-10, 4-5. Wakanda, 9-10, 4-5. Lake, 6-13, 1-7. And North Chicago remains winless overall. And then to the Central Suburban, Deerfield, still unbeaten in conference play at 8-0, 19-4. Vernon Hills 14-9, 6-2. And then Highland Park is in 4th place at 9-10, 3-5 behind Maine West.
All right. By the way, you answered your own question. You didn't even see it because Lake Zurich is sitting there with a better record than Stevenson in the NSC. The most competitive conference in the state of Illinois, as Ashley Graham stated last week.
I'm curious, out of those three, who's going to face each other in the sectional final? I'm curious who's going to come out on top one.
I don't know, but I can't wait to see what the seedings are going to be in the next couple of weeks. That's what I want to see, what the coaches are going to decide. So who's going to play who down the road? That's the key thing.
It's like that song. Like, what is that song, Rusty, you're playing right now?
You never heard that? You never heard this before? It's called Hooked on a Feeling.
Have you never watched Guardians of the Galaxy?
I don't think so.
All right, we need to hit the break. We'll come back. We're going to help Carson out during the break and
knock some strikes down with the bowling.
We're going to talk some boys bowling. Mundelein reaching state for the first time. And the big question is, how long has boys bowling been at Mundelein High School? Don't answer that. We're back right after this here on WRLR.
You girl, but I don't need no cure. I just stay affecting if I can for sure. All the good love when we're all alone. Keep it up, girl. Yeah, you turn me.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
WRLR is community radio.
I feel much more informed with what's happening today.
When we say community, we really mean it.
It's not like corporate, and it's just a good station, yeah?
We don't belong to some large corporation that makes a profit from this station.
Because I like the diversity.
And listeners won't be forced to listen to large blocks of advertising. Operations at community radio stations are made possible through grants and underwriting from companies within this area of operation, and donations, funds, and equipment, services, and time from area residents who volunteer their time to get involved.
It's as if it's my next door neighbor talking to me, only he's on the radio instead of next door to me.
Real people just like you.
I like them. They tell it like it is.
Local focus, local news, local music, of the local people, and by the local people.
It's different than the rest of the stuff I hear.
I love the show. I listen every day.
WRLR.
Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3 FM. I'm Marty Love, the host of Bacon Bits with Master Happiness.
And I'm not alone.
You're not?
I am not. I'm here with my bestest buddy,
Tiffany.
There you go.
We've all got reasons to be scared, angry, or sad. Happiness is outnumbered 3-1. Give us a little bit of your time, and we'll see if we can give you a reason to smile. That's Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, Monday nights at 7 p.m.
Isn't it nice?
The battle continues in the North Suburban Conference. Another basketball game coming up Friday evening. Mundelein and Stevenson, Mustangs against the Patriots. Who's going to win this matchup? We'll have the game for you right here on WRLR 98.3 FM. Pre-game 6:30, tip at 7. You can only find high school basketball each and every week on WRLR 98.3 FM.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, it's Norm. And every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office or take the drive home. Stream the net, WRLR.FM. 98.3 FM is the voice of Lake County on the radio dial. Join Norm Tuesdays, 3 to 5 right here on WRLR.
Getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like that family movie night your daughter can't live without. Yeah, can't do that. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
me whine about nothing and everything all at once. I am one of those.
Welcome back to the Lake County Sports Scoop for a Monday.
Neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it.
A lot to talk about when it comes to high school sports. We talked about basketball. We're going to get to some other sports that are going on. But first off, Carson's got something new and exciting. You like this, Rob? New and exciting.
I like everything that's new and exciting.
Yeah. What do you got for us here, Carson?
Rusty, have you ever wondered at home, gosh dang it, I missed the Sports Corner or the Lake County Sports Scoop or the Friday game this past week? Do you ever think that? Like, gosh,
I think about it all the time.
Well, luckily our listeners are in luck. If you go to YouTube and type in Lake County Sports Scoop, subscribe to my YouTube page. I upload this show, the Sports Corner, and also I'm going to try getting our games up there as well on YouTube. So I've been in the process of getting those on there. So make sure to give me a like and subscribe and share it to anywhere. I'll try making a Twitter also for the show to post it too.
This sounds like a social network. It really does, Rob. Give me a like. Give me a like. That's what he's looking for. He wants the like. Something like on Facebook, like this, like that.
Hey,
like
you're like that too, Rusty. When you run the WRLR page, you were telling me on the phone, oh, Bruce gets more.
We can't really push that here. But I'll tell you one thing, though, to have an opportunity to go back and listen to the shows, because maybe you're not available on a Monday evening, maybe you're not available on a Saturday, or you missed the game on Friday, and yet that was such a great game on Friday. You know, that was a big upset. You're like, wow, I wonder what happened on that game. I want to listen to it. You're not at the game, but you listen to get all the action. And I know, Carson, you were there. I was there. Rob didn't make this one, but, you know, if Don's there, I mean, this is exciting. That was one of the better games we've had this year, to be honest. Or actually the whole season, this is one of the better ones. Mm-hmm. Even though we've had a lot of close games, I'd say, the last month or so.
You heard me on the radio say, I hope it goes to overtime for more basketball.
Oh, boy. Yeah. By the way, this week's game, we're going to be at Stevenson High School. Mundelein against Stevenson.
Too bad we couldn't get that third game in 2020. I know both coaches would want that, right?
You're looking in the past. That's Carson. He lives in the past.
I guarantee you, if I did a poll from both of those teams, they would both be like, "Can we reschedule that game?" That was a classic, Rusty.
Well, I'm glad we thought about Mundelein, though.
Yeah,
because history was made this past weekend, believe it or not. We have the boys bowling coach from Mundelein. That's Chris Swino. Chris, how you doing this evening?
Good. How are you, Rusty?
I'm doing great. Before we get started, I posed a question to Carson. He had no clue, or my intern Rob here. When did the Mundelein boys bowling program start? Because this is all new.
This is our 5th year.
Ah, that's what I thought it was, the 5th year. Because I remember going out there covering a story, which I wanted to kind of put this out in the paper about the fact that you guys started the program that year. And when I get there, somebody from Warren decides to roll a 300 game and spoil the party. I was like, come on.
Yeah, that was Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan.
He did that a couple times.
Yeah, I was like, we don't need that. But, I mean, what am I going to say? The best part of it was, though, he's a great bowler. He also was autistic, which was a great story in itself. I mean, I handed off to him there for what he did there. But what your boys did this past weekend says a lot for the Mundelein boys bowling team, doesn't it, to make it to state?
Yeah, they've come a long way from where we started.
Mm-hmm. What helped this team get this far? What did you think?
A lot of it's our senior leadership. Our two captains, Sam and Andrew, both do a really good job of getting the guys pumped up and getting them into practice and working and getting better and just leading us in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I know this program's been building, Chris. But what steps did it take to kind of get the experience, to get guys to go to another level here?
Well, the nice part about bowling is it's fairly easy to pick up. It's not like trying to, start playing baseball at the age of 15. So bowling, as long as you work on the fundamentals and you're semi-athletic, you can make leaps and bounds pretty quick. So like Sam and Andrew, those two captains, they came in as freshmen having never bowled. And we had some pretty good leaders back then, too. Our two bowlers, Nick and Owen, who really started the program. Or the reason we started the program, they helped them a lot. And by the end, they were averaging about, 160 at the end of their freshman year. And now they're both right around 210 averages.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're willing to put in the work and, get the equipment, you can get better pretty quick.
Chris, can you name the other bowlers? Because they deserve a lot of credit than just the ones you're mentioning here. Who were the other ones that kind of helped us get there?
Well, so Miles Kugler he's a senior. He's done a lot. This is his third year. He missed the COVID year. But so he's been a 3-year varsity guy. We have 2 sophomores, Winston Petrie, who's probably our top bowler. He's phenomenal. And then Sean Massandria is also a sophomore. He's a 2-handed lefty, and he does a great job. He has games where he just goes off and, he'll put up a 260 quite frequently. And then some of the other guys, we have Bailey Eckbert, who's a junior. He's usually our first guy off the bench, and then Ramson Moreno, who's also a junior, is the second guy off the bench.
Coach, this is Carson. Thanks for coming on today. For those who maybe don't follow bowling as much, what are some critiques or adjustments that you look for in players' games that you help them improve, whether it's shot or angle or what have you? What are some tips that you like to give the players?
Well, for anyone new to the sport, I always tell them it's easier if you go 2-handed than it is to do 1-handed, because everyone wants to hook the ball a lot, and the easiest way to do that is just taking the thumb out of the equation. So bowling 2-handed helps a lot. But for my 1-handed guys, it's really just focusing on your arm swing and getting your hand in the right position and getting cleanly out of the ball. All of which you can do, practicing at home, sitting on a carpet with, just on a knee, practicing releasing your ball. It's all about building consistency and keeping that, keeping those fundamentals consistent.
How much do you think maybe the weight of the ball for a person maybe impacts a shot? Do players ever shift between weights of balls or maybe tell me something along those lines?
Most players don't shift between weights. For some of my smaller freshman guys, I'll have them start with the 14-pounder. I don't really like them to go below that just because you start deflecting off the pins instead of going through them. Most guys throw 15, though, by the time they get to varsity, and they stick with that. There's very few people that throw 16-pound just because it's really not worth it. Even the pros, not many throw a 16-pound ball.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you mentioned something there, the 2-handed bowler and the 1-handed bowler. And everybody has this thought with 1-handed bowling. Of course, if you watch the PBA Tour, you see somebody like Jason Belmonte, and everybody likes this guy because he can throw 2 hands. What have you seen as a coach? And you mentioned about the 2-handed bowling better than the 1-handed bowling. What have you seen that works so well as a 2-handed bowler over a 1-handed bowler?
It's just a lot more easier to generate revs on the ball because where most bowlers struggle 1-handed is getting their thumb out. Because you have to get your thumb out, and then you got to come up the back of the ball to really create those revolutions. And with 2-handed, you don't have a thumb in there, so it's just coming off your hand that much easier and that much quicker. So it's just easier to build, to get those revs.
Coach, with such an exciting year, what do you think are maybe some special moments or favorite moments that your team has? How would you maybe describe the chemistry between the guys along those lines?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
What are maybe some special moments or favorite moments that your team has along this special run that you guys are going on? And how would you maybe describe the team chemistry?
Our team chemistry is great at all levels too. Our seniors are good buddies with the freshmen; they help them out a lot. And at every level, they're I think because we're just such a close knit group. There's 20 of us each day sharing 3 sets of lanes. So we're always working with each other, and it's really there is a varsity and a JV team, but it's really just one big program. And we're all working towards the same direction of getting better and growing as a program. So the fact that we have 20 guys is from where we started is kind of nuts. But I just think.
Oh, go ahead. Continue.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what were some of your favorite moments that the team has had for this season?
We beat Libertyville twice, so that's always good. They're kind of our main rival, and my brother coaches over there, so it's always fun to beat your older brother. We hosted a tournament back in November, and we won it pretty handedly. So that was that was fun. And then, this is the first time we've advanced through a regional as a team, and first time we got to the sectional as a team also. We've never had anyone get through the sectional, even as an individual. So these past few weeks have been pretty special.
Coach, is there any players on your team that are considering maybe playing bowling at the college level by chance?
Yeah, Winston Petrie, he's a sophomore that I mentioned. He wants to bowl collegiately, and he's got a good shot of going somewhere. One of the better bowling schools, Mount Mercy, or if he gets as good as he can, Wichita State. I know is what he's aiming for, but that would be that's a extremely difficult school to get on the bowling team at. So,
Coach, you're going to have the state run this weekend down at O'Fallon, St. Clair Lanes. What do you know, and how are you going to be able to prepare to handle the pressure? I know you pulled this past weekend against a couple of the top teams in the state, being Hononegah and Harlem. How are you going to prepare this group?
Yeah, so really, those are probably the two premier programs in the state, Hononegah and Harlem. And, getting to bowl against them at Don Carter and seeing how they threw the ball and what they did, kind of helps us because we can focus on some of those things in practice. So, like, if you look at the games we struggled in games 5 and 6, those teams weren't struggling like the other ones were. And really what they did is they just kind of started throwing the ball harder, and not moving quite so far left like our guys did. Our guys were trying to move left and swing it versus they kind of just stayed more or less where they're at and just kind of threw it a little bit harder and balled down just to keep it on the lane a little bit. And from what I've heard from other coaches, the lanes down in O'Fallon are really similar to the Don Carter ones. They're going to burn up in a similar way. So we just got to kind of focus on staying within ourselves and just making the right adjustments.
Coach, after accomplishing what you have done so far, what was your message to your team on advancing to state, and what is your message to your team as you prepare for state?
I just told them how proud I was of them. The regional, we almost lost the regional. We were in a good spot, and then we had a bad game and fell out. And they really mounted to come back in, so to get back in that 4th spot, and so it was really good to see that. And they just kind of stuck with it. And then yesterday too, or Saturday too, it was a full team effort. We had guys come in off the bench and step up, and so we just talked about how happy I was for them, and how much I believed in them. And then we talked about this week we really just got to focus on converting our makeable spares. We left a lot of pins out there on Saturday, and if you look at those two schools, Hononegah and Harlem, they don't miss spares. So that's what we really need to focus on this week to be competitive.
I like that message, finishing those pins. Coach, just for those who don't know, how many spectators do you maybe get out for each match, and is there also maybe a way to watch matches if you can't attend in person?
We get a lot of people coming out. It's actually amazing. The first bowling tournament I went into, I was like, my jaw hit the ground. I couldn't believe how many parents were out there in support of their kids. But we get students out occasionally. We don't have a stream. Some schools will stream it. I know that this weekend at O'Fallon there's going to be a stream that they can watch on, but I think it's only on certain lanes. But post-COVID, we during the whole COVID year, we were streaming every game, but we've kind of stopped that now that we can be have live attendance again.
Coach, before we let you go, any certain goal? Are you looking to get past the first day, make the second day, go after a trophy? I mean, I guess the lanes are all yours because you've never been down there before.
Yeah, I really think we got a team that's good enough to make it to the second day, so I'd definitely be happy about that. And, if we can find our way onto the podium, that would just be awesome. And, I know that they have the ability to do it. They just got to show up and do it.
All right. Sounds great. Good luck on that this weekend. You'll start bowling on Friday. You're going down there, Thursday or Wednesday? When are you going to go down?
We're going to go down Thursday, practice Thursday, and then stay down there and bowl Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, it's a long trek. I know you got 6 games to bowl on Friday, If you make the top 12, then you bowl 6 more on Saturday. So it's a tough grind, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Well, good luck. Come back with a trophy, all right?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chris Swino. We appreciate you coming on. Thanks.
Yeah, have a good night.
All right. Chris Swino, the head coach for bowling, first trip. And they've only been around for 5 years. I like that.
Rusty, that's funny what he was saying, that he has an older brother at Libertyville. Did you also know, Rusty, that he is also related to a coach over on the Mundelein baseball team, too?
Really? Well, so families that's around. How about that?
Very successful teams, too.
We do want to make mention here, too, that outside of Hononegah and Harlem, they had 6 teams that qualified for state with 4 different sectionals. Okay, so you got 24 teams that go. And not only did Mundelein get through, but Lake Zurich got through too, as they finished 6th place respectively. Both Mundelein and Lake Zurich were 5th and 6th. So the Mustangs are going downstate. So is Lake Zurich. We have individuals that are going to go from different schools. Zach Shoemaker of Vernon Hills and Jackson Sheriff Stevenson will also take part individual. So that's pretty impressive. So we got that all involved for this weekend. We'll have results from the first day on Saturday Sports Corner to pass along, because like I said, they're going to bowl both days, and if they can get to the second day, we're going to follow. We've had teams go far. I mean, I know Vernon Hills has had great runs.
They've won it before, right?
No, they've never won it. They finished second. They were in the lead, and they were 60 pins away from the championship, and I hate to say, one of those teams like Harlem or Hononegah that came out of nowhere with this 1,200 game, which there's no handicaps involved. They just bowled their lights out, and all they could do was watch what they were doing, and they ended up second place.
I like what the coach said about finishing spares. I'm sure that's probably what it really comes down to in the nitty-gritty of it is how many pins do you leave out there.
A couple other notes I want to pass along. Girls bowling conference meets will come up on Friday. The North Suburban Conference will be at Bolero Lanes in Lake Park, which is hosted by Lake Zurich. And then also Friday, the NLCC, the Northern Lake County Conference, will be at Antioch Lanes, hosted by Lakes. And we should have those results on Saturday. Also, girls gymnastics, the North Suburban Conference meet will be at Lake Forest on Thursday. We had Denise Caton on from Vernon Hills. They're going to have their meet coming up in the Central Suburban North. But they're a front runner, believe it or not, to win the state. And Vernon Hills has not had a team win state, so it's very possible that they can do that. I got my fingers crossed. I'd really like to see a first state championship.
Any of you guys good bowlers? Who do you think is the best bowler out of us 3?
You'd be in trouble, Carson.
You think you can wipe the floor with all of us, Rusty?
Well, I have bowled in the past, an average close to 170, 175, 180, and I haven't bowled in a while, but I'm sure I can probably take it.
What he's probably not telling us, guys, is probably with bumpers, right, Rusty?
No, I don't think so. We're going to let you have the bumpers because you're probably going to need it to get there.
I don't know about that, Rusty. My uncle actually was a minor league bowler, so I learned from the best.
The only thing I could say when I was younger, I probably should have stuck to the two-handed approach when I was a real young kid, but they didn't think two-handed was good. Now two-handed bowling is around.
I know sometimes people wear gloves, too, when they bowl. Some people,
you can put a glove on, but you got to have the fingers loose, though.
Yeah, some do like individual fingers, but I know some people do gloves.
Pete Weber was known to do that, believe it or not.
I don't bowl.
All right, we got to thank Chris Swino for coming on the program, talking about bowling. Good luck to the Mundelein Mustangs. We got to run out here. The big show is coming up next.
What tunes is Ron going to sing to us today?
I have no clue. Except for the fact that we know he's in studio and he's waiting in the background here.
He knows every song on that jazz order there, Rusty, like the back of his hand.
He knows the whole music library.
Right.
Let's just say that. We need to run out of here for Carson Beck, Rob Cartwright, our intern. I'm Rusty Silber. So long, everybody.
In the dumps with the mumps as the adolescent bumps his way into his hair. With a boulder on my shoulder.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.